Welcome to the Cloud Accounting Podcast for a special breaking news edition. I'm Blake Oliver.
And I'm David Leary.
So David, you pointed me to this link to a Facebook group that we are both members of. It's a private group called Business Workflow and Management. I believe it's run by Seth David. Is that right?
No, that is this is actually, I think, at one time, I think Stacy Kildall and Seth David both ran this group together, and then since then it's split. So I think they both have the same initials. It's very confusing. I thought it was the same group for like 2 years.
Okay.
But so this is Business Workflow and Management,
yes.
hashtag BWAM.
So this is a group for primarily bookkeepers, is that right?
I think so, yes. Bookkeepers, accountants.
A lot of folks in the Intuit world, right? QuickBooks world?
I think it probably started out very QuickBooks focused, but it's definitely not anything specific about QuickBooks. It's really just in general small business.
All right. Well, let's get to the breaking news here, which Deborah, who posted in this group, stumbled across a new pricing page on the Intuit website, on the QuickBooks website. What did she find?
Do you want to read her post first?
Yes. Okay, so this is February 4th. Deborah says, so now Intuit is doing away with us altogether. Has everyone seen this new pricing with bookkeeping? And it's a link to the QuickBooks online pricing and free trial landing page. And she also posted a screenshot of it. And I'm actually able to go there right now, quickbooks.intuit.com/pricing. And there are now two options on the page. One is the regular, what they're calling do-it-yourself pricing for QuickBooks, the various versions of the online product, Simple Start, Essentials, Plus, Advanced, etc. And there's also a tab here that says with expert help. A QuickBooks bookkeeper sets up your books via live video chat and is available for you all year long. Now, this is big. Intuit has been doing CPA and EA assisted tax prep with their TurboTax product for a few years now. I think they just added CPAs this year. You can pay extra to have their help. And this is the first time I've ever seen this in QuickBooks, right, David?
I have a slightly different experience. So I know Deborah posted a screenshot, and I think I saw that yesterday. But today I'm seeing a different screenshot. They moved the positioning, and it's a different spot. So we can talk about that later. There's a comment from Intuit, like that they are testing this, and they're obviously testing it, not just getting feedback from small businesses, but they're actually testing where they should place this on the website. Because there's different versions of this. You see it moved around, and it's the way it's offered as an add-on versus slider.
Yeah. But who cares about that? Like, the big news here is that Intuit is going to be offering bookkeeping services bundled with QuickBooks. And the prices are kind of scary if you're an independent accountant or bookkeeper who does this for a living. Just to give you an example, what they're calling the most popular tier, which is Plus with live bookkeeping, is $260 per month, discounted for, I guess, temporarily down to $230 a month. And what that gives you is not just the QuickBooks product, access to that, it gives you the ability to talk to a live bookkeeper. There's this lovely picture of Claudel, who's been a bookkeeper for 19 years, waving hi. She's the only one on the page so far, so maybe they only have one bookkeeper working for them at the moment. Who knows? It says that you can connect with a professional bookkeeper when you need an extra hand, stay confident knowing a certified QuickBooks expert is looking over your books as you work, and on-demand assistance setting up your books, categorizing your transactions, and reconciling your accounts. So somebody will help you set up your QuickBooks, which actually Intuit used to do that in the past with the desktop product, right?
I mean, yeah. So going back to that, the Facebook post about this, right? There's 90 to 100 comments in there, and it's all over
so
it's
blowing up on Facebook because, of course, people are saying, well, there's some great comments here. Do you want to read some of them, David?
The comments are all over the board, right? From some of the comments are, they're choosing to compete with us.
Some of the comments are defending Intuit, saying, this is no big deal. They're just taking on the low end bookkeeping work. I'm not concerned about that. Kristen says there's a big difference between something like this already existing in the marketplace due to competition between firms and a big company whose product we have been touting as a great solution to suddenly become the competition.
Yeah, and there's another similar comment like that. It's one thing to have to compete with Bench, but it's a whole nother thing to compete with Intuit. ... So Zach put that one.
And what this made me think of immediately when I saw this, because this is a big move, is Bench, right? Which Bench is a service that makes their own bookkeeping software, receipt capture software, and they provide a live bookkeeper that you get assigned to you that helps you reconcile your accounts and categorize your transactions every month. And this looks very similar. Something else you get with this package is not only do you get the setup, but you get monthly insights. And the bullet points under that feature are your bookkeeper can fix incorrectly posted transactions to ensure your books are accurate, and walk through monthly reports with your pro and see how well your business is doing. I mean, that sounds like what I was doing when I started out as a QuickBooks Pro advisor years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I some part of me feels like this is inevitable at some level, right? Like as more and more bookkeeping becomes a commodity, and it's also happening in other industries as well, like eventually this is going to, I know some people even use the word Uber in some of the comments. And if it's becoming a commodity and we think AI is eventually going to do this, it's almost where is the interaction with the bookkeeper a temporary thing for just a little while? And there's a lot of skies falling comments. But I think some perspective on this, right? I remember back in the day when I used to work at the mall selling software, when QuickBooks and TurboTax started hitting the market. So this is, to date myself a little bit. And everybody was the sky's falling. They just want to steal accountants' jobs. It's ruining the accounting industry. People aren't going to hire accountants and bookkeepers anymore because they can get this software, right? And it kind of didn't happen, right? So I think some of this is like sky falling, turning around. But I also think that there's a lot of other impacts. There's a lot to talk about. I think this changes a lot of...
It's going to cut the bottom end of the market out from under anybody who is serving that group. So if you're doing, QuickBooks bookkeeping for less than $300 per month, I don't think you're going to be able to compete anymore. You're not going to be able to compete with Bench or with Intuit now. And my big concern or my big question is, how does this affect Intuit's relationship with the pro advisor community? Because if I were a pro advisor, I'd be seriously concerned that they've been saying, oh, we're going to help you build your business. We support accountants. I mean, that has been the message coming out from Intuit for many years now, right? We are on your side. And yet here's a competitor that we are creating. And who's to say that in the future they won't move up market? I'm really surprised that this page just appeared out of nowhere and that the community wasn't prepped for this, because they're probably going to piss off a lot of people.
Yeah, I think somebody put a comment in there that in a way Intuit's been prepping people for this for years, right? And I think we
really, this is the first time I've heard of this.
Yeah, but indirectly, right? Like everybody's been really telling all the pro advisors and accountants, hey, you got to provide more advisory service, more value. You got to provide more value. You got to learn to value bill. You need to do really. And so what I kind of see happening, right? If you take the bell curve and there's 100,000, 200,000 pro advisors, like whatever it is, right? Like the ones that have moved to cloud first, the ones that have automated the processes, the ones that are truly kind of that aggressive forward thinking pro advisor, right? Who's value billing. They've really transformed their practice for the last 5 or 6 years. I see a lot of those pro advisors, right? That end of the bell curve, they're stealing all the A, B, and C clients, leaving the other 80% to fight over the D and F clients, right? That, to be honest, none of these people want. In the same forums, they bitch about these clients, right? They bitch about these clients that only want to pay them $180 a month. In a way, like somebody's got to still take care of these clients, right? The market demand will still be here for this low end client. But none of the pro advisors really want them anyways. But it's interesting balance.
Well, it's one thing to complain about them. Everybody likes to complain about their clients. But when the revenue is being sucked away from you by a company that you pay a lot to for their software, I see this as a huge question. And I am going to be really curious to see what the conversation is like at QuickBooks Connect this year in the fall.
How do you think this affects fixed prices? So if I've had fixed prices on my page, right? I've moved to that model and my fixed prices were $325. Now, are people going to call me and be like, Intuit will do it for $260? Did they just set fixed prices for the whole industry?
And this is why I would be annoyed if I were still in practice, is that these are acting like, do you know the concept of anchor pricing, David?
Yes.
Yeah. So the idea is that once you put a price out there, that's the anchor. And then all of the negotiation or discussion revolves around that anchor. So if you're talking prices with a potential customer, you always want to start as high as you possibly can without scaring them away. let's say you know that there's just no way that they're going to pay you $1,000 a month. You start there and you say, well, typically I charge $1,000 a month for this sort of service. And then you can discount to $500, which might be what they're willing to pay, right? But if you start at $500, you might end up having a discount to $250. It's just it's psychology. So by putting out here prices that are essentially around $200, between $200 and $300 a month, Intuit has anchored a very low price point for the industry. Now, how am I going to convince prospects to pay me $500 a month or $1,000 a month when they look at this on the QuickBooks website?
Yeah, and then how does this start to affect the value conversation as well?
Yeah,
it's tough because I think it's everything that even has happened at QuickBooks Connect, teaching people how to charge for their value, teaching people how to do fixed fee. It's almost like goes against some of these things, or at least sets, like you said, that bar for the level price. It's
Well, this is not value pricing. This is fixed fee pricing, right?
Yes,
There's a big difference, which is with value pricing, you can charge different prices for the same service to different customers, right? Based on their perceived value.
So do you think this is going to make value conversations easier?
I don't know. I think it makes it harder, honestly.
Harder?
Yeah, I think basically Intuit has just anchored the price for bookkeeping services, and this is the floor.
I think one of the comments was talking about how this is really going to help be powered by accounting professionals. I mean, now we start doing math on margins, right? How much could you pay somebody an hour to do this and that type of stuff? Then it kind of also makes me think, like, every single day I get a private message on LinkedIn from somebody in India that wants me to give them bookkeeping clients. I don't have any bookkeeping clients to give them, right? Like, is this going to open the door to like this Uberization and this flood of bookkeepers that are willing to do this for $10 an hour for Intuit?
I'm not quite clear on, who is Intuit using to provide this service? Who have they hired? Who are their bookkeepers that are going to be doing this? And how much are those people getting paid? I mean, are they outsourcing? The picture on the website certainly it doesn't seem like, Claudel is outside the United States. She could be. Who knows?
And that might be a test picture because I signed up for TurboTax Live, and I think her picture's there too. So that might be just
stock imagery.
I just thought it might be, maybe she's really a TurboTax Live person.
Yeah.
And they just wanted to test this for QuickBooks Live and they use the same image or something. But then I was thinking, like, because I did start my taxes with TurboTax Live, right? And I have yet, so I'm paying like $100 more for TurboTax Live, and I have yet to actually engage the accountant, right? So now I'm thinking, man, maybe this is just a big margin sell, right? Like I'm going to pay more and then actually not ever take advantage of the service.
So there's a chat feature on the website, and I'm asking right now where the bookkeepers are located. I wonder if they'll tell me.
Wow, real-time testing here going on.
I said, hello, I'm curious to know where your bookkeepers are located for the Plus with Live bookkeeping service plan. Let's see if they get back to me. Oh, it says agent is typing. Thank you for your continued business with QuickBooks. I'd be glad to assist you today. May I please have your name so I can address you better? Hi, I'm Blake.
So while you're starting to do that interaction, Blake, and you start getting some answer, I have to also kind of frame this a little bit. Again, like, it's not new. Way back in 1998, I actually helped create a team and create an offering for QuickBooks called Quick Start. So you could buy QuickBooks desktop software. You get an expert, i.e. David Leary, literally, it was me and a team of 3 other people. We would set up your whole data file, train you to use it, and then send it back to you and kind of, push you out of the nest a little bit. So in a way, like, it's not like this is something that hasn't been done before by Intuit.
Well, so tell me about that. How long did you do that, and why did it stop?
I think... And I think I have this a question down below is like, kind of thinking in my brain as I jotted some notes on this, I think it's scaled. Like, there is a difference to do this, to have a bookkeeping firm with 100 clients, 1,000 clients, 5,000 clients, right? Now you think about the Intuit scale. You now have a bookkeeping firm with millions of clients. It's very, very hard to scale, right? And because it's not, and let's just use Uber as an example. 99.99999% of every Uber ride is the same. Somebody sits their butt in a car and it drives them somewhere, then they get out of the car. That's the Uber experience. But every single small business is different. And so even though you think you set up these processes and it thinks it's scale, it's very, very hard to scale this, especially at a millions level. right? I mean, how big was your accounting firm when you eventually got it up to your bookkeeping firm?
So I had two partners. Two of us were operating it. So one investor, and then we had 10 employees, 10 staff, and we were serving about 200 customers per year, or clients.
Okay, so you need about a staff of 10 to serve 200. So let's do the math.
20 per
QuickBooks users. What kind of staff would you have in bookkeepers then? So it's divided by 20, right?
And that was relatively high touch compared to what this would be, I imagine. Maybe you could have a single bookkeeper assigned to 40 or more, or maybe you just have a pool. I don't know how they're doing it. I'm curious. I'm asking this agent in the online chat. We'll see if we get any information. So far, they've asked me what QuickBooks software I'm using currently, and I said QuickBooks Pro, and they have not yet responded.
The scale thing is very interesting because
I feel like it would have to be a pooled resource, right? Because the way it works with, say, TurboTax, I actually tried it last year because I was curious. So I bought the TurboTax with the assisted help, where I could contact an EA. At that point, they only had EAs. So I could basically get on a video chat with an EA immediately or very soon. I could schedule one. And I did it. I asked a question about something I couldn't figure out how to do. Wonderful EA from the United States. I don't remember exactly where, jumped on, sorted it out with me, helped me, press the right buttons. It actually worked really well, but it wasn't like she was dedicated to me. She was a pooled resource, right? So if I called back again, I get somebody else. And I'm curious if this is that model with this QuickBooks bookkeeping thing, or if it's you get an assigned person.
Oh, so what you're saying is, so maybe one quarter I get insights from somebody, and then next quarter I get insights from somebody else.
Right. And so it's a lot cheaper if you're building out a scalable business, right? You just all you know is that, okay, well, I just need to have enough bookkeepers working at any time of day to be able to take the calls from people so they can help. But then you're not really getting a dedicated bookkeeper, which is a very different experience. And maybe that's how pro advisors will have to differentiate themselves from this service. But I still don't like the idea of having to compete against my software provider for clients. I wonder if Xero is going to capitalize on this, and if they will figure out a way to pull away pro advisors from Intuit. But you were saying that maybe Xero will do the same thing.
Yeah, I think in the short term, because there's some comments, people are like, I'm going to go get certified in Xero tomorrow. I think there's a comment like that, the huff and puffing. But that's very it's naive to think Xero is not going to do this tomorrow, or Sage. Like this, I think, is inevitable ultimately in the long run. If anybody should be scared, right? I think if you think about some of the people that are already doing this, right? So you have the bench, the pilots, the scale factors, BotKeeper, Ceteris, right? I think if anybody should be scared, it should be bench, because they've built their own proprietary accounting system, and they're not built on top of a QuickBooks or a Xero, right? If you're a Ceteris or Scale Factor, right? If Intuit introduces a model like this, you kind of already have a lot of systems in place to work with a model like this, right? But somebody like Bench who has it's all proprietary, like they're not already working with QuickBooks under the covers. How do they, So I think there's upside for some people in this, but I think it's also scary for others.
Yeah.
What else did I see that was an interesting comment on this that I was thinking about? Oh, quality control is interesting to think about. But then again, I think about the current pro advisor side, and I think again, even with people who are certified with CPA, like what is the real quality control? Everybody's kind of on their own, right? Hoping their fingers are crossed, because it's essentially it's practice, right? People have a practicing firm. So you get an answer?
The agent I'm talking with, his or her name is Jen, Jhen, and gave me a link to the current pro advisor directory. And I clarified, I said, I'm sorry, I'm confused. I'm interested in the live bookkeeping service, the one that is $230 per month, where I can talk to a live bookkeeper inside QuickBooks. Jen is now transferring me to somebody else who can help me.
The other big impact, so yes, it's going to impact pro advisors, right? It's going to impact accounting firms and bookkeeping firms. Mm-hmm. I think it can impact the whole app distribution structure, because like our bookkeepers or that are part of this, are they going to be somewhat constrained by some sort of Intuit rules or guidelines to where they're only allowed to recommend app A, B, and C?
Well, are they even going to recommend apps? I think they'll be kept on pretty strict rails, right? Helping to categorize transactions and, review financial statements and fix transactions and whatnot. I can't imagine that Intuit could actually make any money if they've got these bookkeepers out there doing like software consulting, right?
It feels like there's so many more questions to this, right? Thousands and thousands of open questions. And the problem is, I think there's so many open questions. That's where people start with the sky's falling stuff. They're laying in bed at night and their head's spinning around this. And then they just come up with these doomsday scenarios. But I also feel like, some thought I've had is like, it's kind of good for Intuit, right? Intuit needs to disrupt themselves, because if they don't figure out how to do this and disrupt this model a little bit, somebody else is going to do it to Intuit, right? And so is it the perfect solution? Is it where things are going for sure? I don't know. But, if Intuit doesn't try to do things like this, somebody else is probably going to do this, because I kind of feel like it's inevitable with the way things are headed. And we should read Kim Asbaugh's kind of official response that she put out there in the forum. Oh, well, you're typing away there.
Yeah, go ahead.
So she also provided a survey URL for feedback.
Who is this person?
Kim Asbaugh. I think she's in PR at Intuit, but I don't know. I think she might be PR communications for either the accountants team or the whole QuickBooks side of the fence. Like, I don't think Kim speaks to any PR type stuff or community relations with TurboTax side, but I don't know Kim's exact current title. Like, Kim's been at Intuit a very, very long time, but I don't know exactly what her exact perfect title is. And I'll just read her post. So Kim Asbaugh. Hi, everyone. Kim Asbaugh here with Intuit. We're testing small business interest in a bookkeeping service as part of their QuickBooks subscription, powered by accounting pros like you. We're learning from this test and look forward to partnering with accounting pros to deliver great services to small businesses while also potentially providing new revenue streams for the accountant community. We highly value your feedback and have shared it with the team. If you want to share more, please share your thoughts here. So they've created a Google form, allowing really all these people that are probably in that forum and others to give feedback, because that's the best way to shape something like this is for Intuit to throw it out there, get feedback, and iterate on it.
Okay, so I've been transferred to Heath, who said, quote, so we have that live now with our TurboTax, and it has been very successful, and we have started to advertise this with QuickBooks to see how popular it would be, but it isn't quite live just yet.
Oh, yeah, I see. If I try to buy it, it says, thanks for your interest in QuickBooks Live.
Oh, so this is just testing. They're just testing interest. This is what startups do when they want to see if there's a market for the product, right? You don't want to build something if there isn't a market. So you put up a landing page where you advertise it and you make it seem like it's real and it exists, and you see how many people click the buy button. And they actually can't buy it. You just take their email, and then if you get enough interest, then you actually go and build it.
Which is a lot of times smarter to do, because what if Intuit tried to build this? They got tons of pro advisors on board. Everybody changed their processes. They spent months building this in secret, and then they launched it and not one small business owner clicked to buy it. Like, it would have been millions and tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars is lost, right? So it's sometimes this is something companies do because it's just cheaper. It's cheaper. I mean, actually, I would recommend pro advisors and listeners of our podcast, accounting firms, do this. If you're thinking of adding a new service, instead of building it and adding a new service to your clients, put a button on your website and see if people click on it. If nobody's clicking on it, they don't want that service from you.
Right.
Like, I would do that. It's a good way to test something for nickels.
But it's also somewhat dishonest, wouldn't you say? Or confusing. It certainly caused a lot of confusion today.
No, there's no doubt it's confusing. Dishonest is hard to say. I don't, because I've done it myself, right? And I'm a believer in it, right? And then people actually want that, and then I go hurry up and build it, right? I've done that myself, but I don't know if it's dishonest. It would be dishonest if it just stopped, like they didn't actually do anything. But I mean, it's like, hey, thanks for your interest. Please fill out this form if you want us to tell you when this is going to be available. So I mean, and that's the other part of this. Like, this could completely 2 weeks from now, Intuit could come back and be like, hey, we did this test, and 100,000 small business owners want this. Hey, pro advisors, who's going to sign up? Like we got a lead funnel of 1,000 people that want pro advisors.
So the summary is, we figured it out. Right now, this is just testing on the pricing page. Intuit is trying to gauge if there's enough interest, and we suspect that if there is enough interest, they will build it. Given the success that Bench is having, by the way, Bench has grown quite a lot since the last time I took a look at them, and I've got some stats.
Current stats on Bench? So the last stats I knew of, I think, was they had 5,000. Are they past that now?
Well, let me tell you. So
Okay.
I wrote a post about Bench back in 2015 on my blog, and post is called "Is Bench Bookkeeping Right for My Business?" So a lot of that information was out of date, and so recently the Bench folks reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you mind updating your post?" They gave me some new information. I was happy to do that. So the new info is that in January 2018, Bench raised $18 million for a total of $53 million invested to date. They now have 350 employees, and their pricing ranges from $95 to $495 per month. I don't know how many customers they have, but I do believe it's over 6,000. Is that what you said?
The last when I've talked to them in the past, it was they told me 5,000, so it could be as high as 6,000 now.
Yeah.
So divided by 350. So I mean, that's about 17 clients per employee. I mean, is that from a bookkeeping firm? Is that efficient? Because I think I have 6,000 customers divided by, you said 350 employees. That's right. 17 bookkeeping clients per employee.
Well, we got to consider that a number of those employees are definitely not providing services to the clients.
So they're engineers.
Let's just say it's 300 that are actually bookkeepers, right?
Okay.
So then it's 20 to 1, right?
But I've talked to many of pro advisors and people that have bookkeeping firms, and they're between QuickBooks Online and the apps and what they're building efficiently, they're pushing ratios of 50, 60, 75.
Well, it depends what kind of work you're doing with your clients. Depends how big they are, right? I found on average that my bookkeepers could handle 20. Now, if they were really talented, they could handle 40. And I had just one all-star who she could do 60. But that's
and you unusual. And this was all, I mean, you were taking, I assume your firm was taking advantage of every possible automation and cloud thing you could.
Not every automation, but we were definitely, compared to most firms that are still using desktop software, we were doing really well. We were using receipt capture. We were using online bill pay, bill.com. We were using Xero. So our clients had at least 3 apps that were all integrated. And I think 20 is reasonable on average. And again, I'm sure there are some rock stars out there who are like, oh, 20? No way. I can handle way more than that. Well, you're probably not average, right? That's you work for yourself, first of all, right? That takes entrepreneurial skill and ability. And that means you're probably just a lot more productive than most people who would just be an employee. And if you just take the average bookkeeper who doesn't want to be entrepreneurial, just wants to come in and do a job from 9 to 5, they can probably handle 20, is my guess. But I'd love to know if anyone thinks that that's off. Interesting. So Heath is now taking a survey. He's taken my info and has asked when the feature is released, they'll contact me. So I gave him my name and email address, my real name and email address and phone number. And he's saying, from 1 to 5, what level of interest do you have in this? So I guess I'll say 5. And does the price seem reasonable to you from 1 to 5? Yeah, it seems very reasonable. So hopefully I don't get blackballed from this list and they never tell me anything ever again. But okay, let's step back for a second. I feel like when I had my own practice, I ended up putting a floor on basic bookkeeping services of $250 a month. If a client wasn't willing to pay at least that, then I wasn't interested in talking to them. It just wasn't. The margins were not going to be good, right? It wasn't going to be a good experience. So I would not be worried if I still had my practice about this assisted bookkeeping QuickBooks Intuit product, because all the prices are basically less than $260. And I'd be really, looking for clients that are willing to pay $500 or more. And of course, when we joined a CPA firm, we merged with a CPA firm toward the end. We were looking at, customers willing to pay $1,500 a month and up. So that's not a problem. What is a problem, I think, is the anchoring. I don't like Intuit setting a floor on prices, or not even a floor. I don't like them setting a low anchor point. That would be frustrating to me. And then having to constantly explain the difference to clients, although maybe it would end up helping, right? Because it educates them on online bookkeeping. And I could say, look, here's what's included with the QuickBooks live bookkeeping product. You get just these 3 things. And here's what you get from us. You get these 30 things. So maybe in the end, it will help educate the market. I don't know. What do you think, David?
So it's actually good getting a perspective on this from somebody who's owned a firm, has operated a firm, be like, hey, at this dollar figure, I could do it. At this dollar figure, I can't. But if I'm hearing you correctly, there could be huge upside here because now, even now that there's an anchor price that has kind of the bottom barrel is not the best terminology, but right now live, I can't think of something else to say, but with the bottom barrel set of features, whatever it might be, like maybe there's no app consulting, maybe there's none of this, right?
Right.
Now on my site, I can put a fixed fee of 500 and be like, yeah, but look at the 10 other things I'm going to give you, the 100 other things I'm going to give you on top of versus what QuickBooks could give you. And so in a way, like maybe this is like a reverse psychology thing and it actually sets the price bar. It allows people to set their fixed fees higher.
What I would do is if Intuit starts doing this is I would immediately start optimizing my website with blog posts and doing paid advertising online saying, unhappy with QuickBooks live bookkeeping? Here's something better for you. Right?
Good luck with that because Ben should run so many Facebook ads and Google search ads that you just can't afford to buy those terms.
No, but I can do organic SEO like on my website, writing articles like that. The reason Bench reached out to me about correcting the information on my blog post is obviously because it's having an SEO impact, right? Like people are finding that article and they found it, so it must be ranking, and they want to correct the information so that it doesn't hurt their business. Well, I could do the same thing with QuickBooks and just write a bunch of articles about their service and the problems with it and case studies of people who switched over to me. And I could rank very highly on Google for those terms. And actually, in that way, I'd be sort of piggybacking off of Intuit and stealing the people who are really just too big for them, right? Who would be good for my service. And Intuit's the one that would be spending, millions of dollars bringing in these customers. So it's sort of like what do you call it when one animal feeds off of another? It's not parasitic.
Symbiotic?
It's more symbiotic. Yeah.
So one thing I think you'd see this as being a positive out of this, right, is you said, hey, if somebody didn't want to pay me $280, I didn't want them as a client.
Right.
But what did you do? Just said sorry and just punt them? At least now you can send them somewhere like, hey,
yeah,
for you, the right size might be over here. People aren't just going to be kicked from one firm to another firm to another firm.
And what's great is that I can use that now and I can still keep the client for the other stuff. So they're not willing to pay me to do their basic bookkeeping work. Fine. But at least they have help. And I can say to them when they get stuck on categorizing transactions, well, you should use your, QuickBooks Live assistant to help you with that. And then I don't have to get on the phone with them. And then they call me when they need some help with like an integration, or they call me when they need help with tax.
Interesting. So you as a firm owner could use this as an outsourcing service for your own clients.
Which is what Bench is starting to do with accountants. They have now a partner program that is it's active. They haven't started promoting it a lot. It's not a secret, but you can actually partner with them as, say, a tax professional and then have them do the bookkeeping for your clients. And then they'll send you the reports for taxes and they'll do the adjusting entries and all that stuff. So this could be very similar. And there are way more tax professionals, independent tax professionals out there still than there are, I think, independent bookkeepers. So maybe that's the play for them. Or get all that bookkeeping work referred to them by the tax people.
Yeah, I don't have much. I literally had a scratch pad of thoughts on this. I think we've exhausted all of them. I really knew we had to do its own show. Like we couldn't have talked about this and talked about 15 other articles. And so I think this had to be its own show. It had to be a standalone episode. I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to send us thoughts and feedback and comments. So what's the best way for them to do that?
We really want to hear your thoughts on this. Contact me and David. Tweet at us. I'm at Blake T. Oliver. And where are you, David?
I'm at David Leary.
And follow us or like our page on Facebook, Cloud Accounting Podcast. Just search for that. You'll find it on Facebook. And feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you're on LinkedIn. I'm always looking to hear what people think about the show. Oh, don't forget to subscribe to our show notes. If you go to blakeoliver.com, or you're not going to remember that.
Cloud Accounting Post. Yeah.
Cloudaccountingpodcast.com. That will direct you to the podcast page on my website. There is a blue banner at the top that says subscribe to updates. Click that banner, subscribe. You will get notified via email of any new episodes. And in that email will be all the links and descriptions of any articles that we talk about on the show. So you can then go and read those later if it was interesting to you in the discussion.
And that'll be important with this episode because you're going to want to get the link to the survey and you're going to want to get the link to the Facebook post as well.
Exactly. And the screenshots of this new pricing page. All right, David. Well, that was a fun special episode. I look forward to chatting with you on Friday.
Yeah, same bat time, same bat channel. Can I say that? That's so corny. Why did I even say that? Anyways, on that, we're out.